shut down Venice, he flew in 95 private jets, and he married a former news anchor in a 500-year-old monastery. That's right, Jeff Bezos, he just married Lauren Sanchez, and the wedding, it wasn't just extravagant, it was strategic. Now, held on a private island in Venice, with foam parties on a $500 million yacht, well, a guest list that included Oprah, the Kardashians, and Leonardo DiCaprio, although it was hard to tell under that hat. Also, a wardrobe change so wild, it turned into a global fashion moment. But beneath the luxury, well, there was a lot more going on. There was a city protesting. In fact, there was a lookalike Jeff Bezos floating for his life. Locals were absolutely livid. Now, activists, they were shouting, and a tourism ministry, they tracked nearly $1 billion in media value. Now, this wasn't just a billionaire's wedding, this was a flex, and for good reason. Now, the bride and groom, well, they actually used to look like this. And Jeff, he still laughs like that. So in this video, we're gonna take a look back at the newlyweds before fame, and we're gonna break down everything you missed at the most expensive celebration of 2025. Chapter 1, how Jeff Bezos and Lauren Sanchez, well, they became a power couple. Now, Jeff Bezos, he built Amazon. Lauren Sanchez, well, she built a media career, and in 2019, well, they blew up the internet together. But before the yachts, the foam parties, and the $50 million wedding weekend, well, Jeff Bezos was a little less Lex Luthor and more your next door neighbor kind of geek dad. For real. Now, the story goes, he was a garage startup guy, and Lauren Sanchez, well, she was a news anchor working with the likes of E-Talk. She also had a pilot's license, and Jeff Bezos, being a bit nerdy, well, he would see her on the TV and fantasize of another life with a woman like her. Meanwhile, she was the talk of the town, hanging out with the likes of Bill Clinton. She didn't know who the hell he was. Now, during his earlier years, well, Jeff Bezos, he had a traditional family, he had a traditional wife, but this one news anchor had certainly caught his eye. It was a woman way out of his league, and considering how Bezos used to look and the old car he always would drive regardless of being like a millionaire, yeah, let's just say he had to wait his time. Well, Jeff, like most things, he decided to wait the long game, and eventually things would go his way. Now, Jeff Bezos, he was born in New Mexico back in 1964, and he studied engineering at Princeton. He worked on Wall Street. Then at the age of 30 years old, he quit everything to launch a little website called Amazon.com. Now, that site, it turned into one of the biggest companies on earth and made him one of the richest men in the entire world. Now, Sanchez, excuse me for laughing, also from New Mexico, well, she built her career in Los Angeles. Now, she hosted for Extra, Good Day LA, and later launched Black Ops Aviation, becoming one of the first women to own an aerial film company. She worked behind the scenes on movies, award shows, even NASA footage. Now, they went from hiding the relationship to eventually flaunting it full force on yachts, at Cannes, on red carpets, and eventually on the cover of Vanity Fair. Now, they branded themselves as inseparable, and in 2023, well, Jeff Bezos decided to pop the question with a 30-carat diamond, and that was estimated to be worth $4.5 million. Well, following the yes to his proposal, well, the wedding planning began. Chapter 2, why Venice, and how they took over an entire city. Now, Jeff Bezos, he didn't just book a venue, he booked an entire city. The wedding, it took place at San Giorgio Maggiore, which is a small monastery island just across from St. Mark's Square. Now, to get there, well, guests, they had to take private water shuttles, all reserved, branded, and secured by Bezos' team. Now, he locked down every major luxury hotel in the region: Cipriani, Gritty Palace, St. Regis, with suites going for over $10,000 a night. Now, we even flew in 30-plus personal event staff from the US, including hair and makeup artists, bodyguards, and stylists for every outfit change. Now, it was a full 3-day itinerary, and it was distributed to guests, with party themes ranging from Dolce Nate to Cloud Pajama Lounge. And it wasn't subtle. Now, for the locals, well, roads were closed. The locals, they were pissed. They were rerouted all over town, Airspace, it was temporarily restricted because when Jeff Bezos gets married, everything else is put on hold. And for this fiasco, well, the world, they had to adjust. Now, there were drones, so we saw some visuals over San Giorgio Island. There was footage of water taxis arriving, security checkpoint setups, and there were maps showing lockdowns around the wedding zone. There are also itinerary cards which said, "Welcome abroad, yacht foam party awaits." Chapter 3, the guests, the foam party, and the 3-day celebration. Now, we all know your average wedding, it lasts around, well, let's say, 9 hours, 5 hours, several, right? Well, this one lasted 72 hours. Now, the event, it kicked off with a foam party on the Yacht Kourou, a custom-built sailing yacht over 400 feet long. It was decked out with jacuzzis, marble staircases, and a custom figurehead that resembled Sanchez herself. Now, from there, well, guests, they were escorted to their suites, each receiving personalized welcome gifts, security, instructions, and a full styling guide. Now, on day 2, well, the couple, they hosted a black tie dinner with performances by the likes of Usher. There were cocktails curated by a private mixologist and a fireworks show over the Grand Canal. Now, the final day was the ceremony itself, and inside the ancient monastery, sealed off from the public's eye, well, their vows were exchanged. And I'm sure everyone laughed at for richer or poorer, right? Now, champagne was flowing, but you're probably wondering who the hell was there and what were they wearing? Well, the guests included Kim Kardashian, who was wearing Balenciaga. Oprah, she was flanked by her own private team. Tom Brady was there going solo, but is said to have been all over Sydney Sweeney. Kylie Jenner, she was there with her rumored boyfriend, Timothée Chalamet. And then there was Bill Gates. He was there all by himself. Dressed low-key. What the hell's Bill Gates doing there for? I guess that guy likes to party. Regardless, this wasn't just a wedding, it was an elite summit. Now, Jeff Bezos himself, he was tailored by none other than Tom Ford. The fashion moment belonged to Lauren Sanchez, who stole the show. Now, she wore 4 separate designer gowns over the 3 days. And the primary dress, well, it was a custom Dolce & Gabbana lace gown, handmade by over 900 hours of labor. Now, as for the yacht party, well, she wore a silver micro dress, and for dinner, well, a silk draped gown reminiscent of Sophia Loren. And for the ceremony, well, let's just say she dipped into Jeff Bezos' wallet. The bride wore a lace cathedral masterpiece, complete with a 12-foot train and a 40-person security detail assigned to protect it from media leaks. Now, photos were released exclusively via Vogue. Now, part of the stage content partnership that blurred the lines between wedding and fashion campaign. Well, the reaction, fans went wild. Fashion TikTokers, they broke down every fabric at Lauren Sanchez. And Lauren Sanchez, well, she trended for 3 days straight. Chapter 5, the backlash, the protest, and billionaire optics. Now, not everyone was celebrating, especially those who weren't invited. Outside the glitz and glam, well, Venice, it was boiling. Now, protesters, they held signs that read, "Venice is not for sale, no space for Bezos, billionaires out." Now, climate groups, they slammed the couple for flying in 95 private jets, burning tens of thousands of gallons of fuel and ignoring the carbon impact of their event. Now, some locals, they were locked out of roads, they were displaced from shops, or forced to cancel events because the area was under private lockdown. Your average tourist or local, well, they were unable to access Venice's most scenic routes due to Bezos' security blockade. And then there were headlines calling the event tone deaf, a monopoly of space, and a symbol of billionaire excess. Now, Bezos, he didn't respond publicly because when you have $100 billion net worth, well, you don't need to, right? You can just say, ha, you should have moved out at 30 and started a website. Look at me now. But here's the twist. Despite the controversy, the wedding apparently worked out. Now, Italy's Ministry of Tourism, they confirmed that Bezos' wedding, well, it generated 957 million euros in media value, the equivalent of nearly $1.1 billion in USD. We're talking in exposure, bookings, and brand impact. For those who never knew what Venice was before, now they know, and a lot more people will be headed that way. This was a billionaire broadcasting to the world. I'm on top, and look at me now. What do you guys think it was? Was this just Jeff Bezos flexing to the world, or was there a bigger play here with their media company, Sanchez's company, Lauren Sanchez Bezos? Let me know what you guys think of this video. It's a little different from what we usually do on this channel. We're putting a lot more resources into our editing and our storytelling, and I hope you enjoyed it. We don't have the budget yet for me to get well, you know, black tie, but we do have merch over at beforetheyarefamous.com. If you want to support the channel, if you want to get a trucker hat, a t-shirt, a hoodie, whatever you want, there's stickers, coasters, all sorts of stuff. Be sure to check out beforetheyarefamous.com. My name is Michael McCrudden. Follow us on every social media platform, and I'll see you guys in another video.